Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Dean.
Welcome to episode 21. Okay, so tell folks a little bit about you, and then I have some hypothetical situations that I want to run you through.
Okay. Well, I'm Lindsay Rios. I'm a fractional CRO, and I mostly focus on startups in the kind of 10 to 25 mil range that are
Mhm.
going through some inflection point. The typical thing you'd hear is, I don't know what happened. Everything was great. We always grew organically and word of mouth
Right.
or whatever it might be. And now we can't figure out what's going on. And then that's typically where I come in.
Now they have to work at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so you're a fractional, so that means we have one extra question in here that we don't
Okay.
normally have for the quote unquote regular CRS. Okay,
Hmm.
and here's scenario number one. So I imagine a lot of your work is done remotely, like a lot of us these days.
Yep.
But for this scenario, your client's only 5 minutes from your home. So
Okay.
it's a brand new client, brand new project, new engagement, new everything. You're new to them, they're new to you. They've signed, so there's been obviously there's been qualification and vetting and stuff. But it's going to be Monday at 9 a.m. You're going to have a busy day because all these hypotheticals happen on one day. So it's Monday. You're showing up first thing in the morning. What is the dream scenario you're walking into on this new engagement, and what's the nightmare scenario you could walk into?
Good question. Dream scenario is we've already got me into the email address I'm going to use, Slack,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, right? The
Right.
major communication systems. Also, I would have already had a meeting scheduled with the important stakeholders where we're going to talk a bit about what's happening in the next 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
I have a my own kind of template I use when I kind of try to fast track onboarding to get up to speed on the company because I am fractional. So
Right.
I want to get to know everything as fast as possible in terms of the entire go to market motion and everything in the business. That's ideal. If we go on the opposite and we look at like what's a nightmare, it's I'm not in any systems. I got to figure out how to find the CEO who I'm going to be obviously working directly with, and they haven't even told the company about me
Yeah.
that I'm coming. That I should have put that into the ideal too. Everyone already knows about me starting, and why I'm going to be there. So it's just one of those like, yep, hey, nice to see you. And no, I have no idea where Dean is, and nobody knows why you're here. And just go, go fish.
Yeah. All right. No, no, excellent. Okay, so we're going to stick to like a single day for the rest of the questions, but I want to jump ahead as far ahead as this podcast ever jumps ahead, which is 90 days, just for this one question, this hypothetical. So you're 90 days in on this engagement. Let's say it's like a 1 year engagement. You're walking down the hall of this place. Someone from the board or someone else in the senior leadership says, "Hey, Lindsay, wait, this is great. So glad to see you. Thinking about like what's been going on the last 90 days, and I got to tell you, I remember I'm like on the board or one of the team. I understood like the initial value prop for bringing you in. Like we had problem A and you were going to solve problem A, or we needed A, B, and C built or established, and you were going to take care of that. I have to tell you that like after watching you and working with you for the last 90 days, I had a real aha moment for what we were really getting. What's the aha moment?
The aha moment is I understand why we were slowing down so that we can now speed up.
Oh, there
I
you go.
I call this the once you get past the honeymoon period and then once you get past the like buyer's remorse period.
Yeah.
Right? Because, first month, everyone's, thank you so much. Any idea I have is great because I haven't been doing any of them, right? And we're so glad you're here. And it's like honeymoon period. Then you start getting about like into that getting into 3 month, and you're like, when are we going to start seeing results? When are we going to start seeing quote unquote tangible things? And I'm getting itchy and I'm getting a little worried about how impactful you really are. Then you get into like that aha moment after about 90 days or so. And then you go, oh, I understand why we were doing all those things in the last 3 months.
Right. Oh, yeah. Good. Excellent. That's a good answer. Okay. So, I mean, you had this plan ahead of time, so they knew you were only going to be there for the first half of the day because you've got to make your way downtown. Big hotel. There's a big conference going on. Right. Booths out on the floor, people walking around, keynote speakers. You're one of the keynote speakers. You get there in time. They put you on stage, and you're in front of this group of about 250 fractional CROs.
Okay.
And right, they were all in corporate jobs until yesterday. So today is their first time being a fractional CRO. They do not know what they're in for. Not really, right? You can't until you're in it. So you're giving your speech, you're talking to this audience, and I'm going to start 3 different sentences for you at different parts of your speech, and you finish that thought with whatever it takes to finish that thought properly, as much as you need. Okay.
Okay.
You're talking to them, and you say, "I got to tell you, starting out, something that as a fractional CRO, you're going to be very surprised by is what?" Or what were you surprised by?
Starting out as a fractional CRO, you're going to be very surprised how specific you need to be in presenting what you do.
Mm.
And I say surprised because, especially if we're CROs, we've come from a career of revenue growth and
Right.
strategy. Therefore, we constantly preach and build strategy around how to be very specific to our ICPs. And yet now when we have to do it, it feels different. It feels scary because you are just starting out. So you want to be able to say, but I can do all these things. But no, you need to be very specific in order for it to work well.
Yep. I saw, there's a firm, they're sort of famous around productized services called Fletch. And I listened to one of their founders on a podcast a few months ago, and he had a great line. He says, companies, this is around fractionals especially, he says, companies expect insiders to be generalists and outsiders to be specialists. He said,
Yeah.
there's no such thing as a generalist outsider who gets many clients.
Yep.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. Okay. So you're continuing on. You're talking about here's how you get clients, and we'll get to that in a second. But here's what clients are like. Here's what the working relationship tends to be like. And are you going to be 4 days a week or 1 day or whatever? He says, "Is one thing that you're going to find most companies just don't understand is what?"
They're going to have a hard time understanding the key differences between a fractional leader
Mm.
and more of a contractor relationship.
Hmm.
And part of that is because for a lot of companies and people still, fractional is a novel concept for them.
Right.
So contractors know fractional newer. And there's a lot of different ways that people are doing it out there. So there isn't some set standard that is externally out there to help
Mhm.
people understand.
Right.
What I might call fractional could be different from another fractional leader. So I think that's going to be something that you want to decide on your own. What does that mean to you? And you're going to have to educate your clients, not just in in the discovery conversations you've had, but as you are a fractional. There will be moments you have to remind and educate on what it means to be a fractional leader versus just being like an external contractor or
Right.
partner.
Right. And then finally, there's you were kind of chatty, and so they're kind of like an intern's trying to wave you off stage, right? And it's like, okay, it's like the Oscars. They're bringing up the music,
Yeah.
and they want to get you off stage, but you're saying like, no, before I go, if I can only tell you one thing about getting clients, here it is.
You do not need a bunch of fancy tools and marketing materials.
Right.
You can exist off of a great one pager you made on Notion, for example. You have to be really good at what you do. That's what's going to matter and how you position what you do. If you're not very good at what you do and you have the fanciest website ever and marketing and all those other things, it won't matter anyway. So you don't
Right.
need it.
That's good. Okay, so they finally got you off stage. You were, you went a bit over. That's okay. And now it's time for you to look after like your pipeline. So you're going out onto the floor. You know how these conferences work. You've, already been like emailing or texting some people. So you've got some ad hoc, meetings sort of set up. Hey, meet me at 3 o'clock over by the coffee place or whatever, right?
Yep.
But you're in your visiting booths and you're talking to prospective clients. As you're talking to prospective clients about fractional CRO role, okay, what do they tend to overrate in importance and what do they criminally underrate in importance?
Hmm. I don't find this across the board, but I do find this
No.
out there often enough, is having someone who has the exact same, who has had the exact same journey, the exact same maybe
Mm-hmm.
industry, experience, things like that, to have to be the one that they work with. That is out there whether you're fractional or not, right? Oh, you have to be from such and such industry to really be
Right.
good for us, right? And I think you get that a lot for fractional too, because if you're supposed to come in and make impact quickly and at not a full-time capacity, then you're thinking, well, you really need to come from this industry, this path, whatever, in order to do that. And I would say absolutely not usually true. Because when you start talking to enough companies out there and you've been doing what you do long enough, I ended up saying this to someone who ended up being a client. I mean, no disrespect, your problems are not unique.
Yeah.
So as long as because his first thing was when we first spoke was, I'm a little worried that it might not be a fit for you, just based off the
Right.
industry, this is it, yada, yada. And that's what I told him, no disrespect, your problems aren't unique. I said, as long as I feel confident that I'm very good at solving this problem, then I feel confident in having more discussion. Do you? And he was like, you know what? Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
So I think that can be very overrated very often. I think what can be very underrated is how important, how impactful a fractional leader can be for kind of layering on top of maybe a role that you already have full time
Mm-hmm.
or a team. And what I mean by that is, for example, a lot of times people look at getting me because they need a new CRO, or
Right.
something similar. And I tell them, well, that could be more of a you just need to find a CRO or an interim. That's not what this is for.
No.
And so what I try to explain to people too, I'm like, look, you ideally to need me, you actually don't need a CRO in your company full time forever, but you need one right now to get you to the next important milestone or inflection point, getting through that, all that. But we need to talk about how you continue to be successful after me. And that is likely not a role that's, say, CRO. It could be a VP of sales. It could be a sales director. It could be whatever. And I don't think that they rate value enough. They think almost like, oh, well, why am I going to have you if I already have a VP of sales? And I'm
Right.
like, well, let's make that VP of sales, who's already probably ideally great, but not fully capable of getting you guys through what's going on. I come help you problem solve that problem. That person now learns how to problem solve for that problem. And then I leave you better than you started. And you have a wonderful person here still without disrupting everything.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Okay. So as you're talking to prospects, you're always talking to prospects in one way or another, right?
Sure.
What's like a red flag that a company would throw up? What's a green flag for a prospective new client?
How can I count the ways on the red
Yeah.
flag? Um, um, well, one of them is going to be just, getting really concerned on like trying to get you into maybe like an hourly like
Mm-hmm.
rate.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not a contractor, and also it's being looked at like, from a penny pinching perspective already. The other thing is if they um, want you to basically make like a really in-depth, like 90-day plan or something like that of how you would,
Right.
come in. And it's like, I don't even know you. I can't tell you what I'm going to do for 20 days, right? So anything getting too specific, out of you, instead of being able to say, here are the problems I think we have, and like evaluating, am I good to help solve those problems, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the two big ones that I tell a lot of other like newer fractionals. Like, don't get sucked into doing
Right.
a bunch of work for free, basically, because you're probably not going to use it anyways. And don't let people corner you into some weird hourly rates. That's just not how it works.
Right. What are a couple of green flags?
Green flags, which is one of my favorite terms I use, is just how receptive they are to the discovery conversation that you're having. I mean, this is just a green flag in a sales process, period, right?
Mhm.
But if they have enough trust in you for you to be able to explore and ask things, and they want to actually tell you things back in the
Right.
business and not gatekeep it, huge green flag here, because we're going to have to be really collaborative the whole time, period, for this to work. So let's just make sure we start from day one. Also, almost most of the time when I'm talking with a new potential client, and they think they know what the biggest problem is, often is not the problem at the end of the day that really needs to be solved. And so if I can then start giving my 2 cents back on where I think we might actually need to focus on, and they're open-minded, they don't have to agree with me, but they're open-minded about it, that's a very green flag. If someone's like, nope, I want this only, and I need you to do this one, focus, and I have it very prescribed, not great. So I'd say
Right.
those are like kind of the two main green flags that I'm going to look at in that initial stage.
Mhm. And then before we wind down, I want to ask you a question about trending over time. So, what do you think is different now about running a sales organization compared to 5 years ago? 5 years ago was pre-pandemic, and now it's post-pandemic with AI, if there is any AI in that organization. Like, how different is it? What's different?
5 years ago, I used to be able to do outreach and it worked.
Yeah.
So there's that too. But it was a huge focus. Sales assisted motions were pretty big then, and they were working then as well, for a
I'm
lot of
not familiar
companies.
with that term, sales assisted motion.
Yeah, so instead of maybe like marketing assisted, like where marketing's really driving
Hmm.
the
Right.
business, right? Even if you have salespeople to close it, or it's not PLG, so it's not a product led
Right.
growth thing. It's I have SDRs, I have salespeople. They are
Yeah.
the ones bringing it in. It's very costly, right? Salespeople and people cost a
Yeah.
lot of money. So back then it worked, and we had a lot of focus on scale, right? Scaling teams, scaling at all costs, and buying tech stack to help us do that scale. Um, and that was very focused. That was very trendy. All of that.
Right.
Now it's a lot of how much do you think we can get done with a single salesperson?
Yeah.
um, there's some really great things about returning to the idea of creating great inbound motions of any sort, and using content again.
Hmm.
And there's social selling now, which is a very big deal and very effective. So having brands built on LinkedIn from individual people, and all of that. So that was not happening 5-6 years ago. But outbound is insanely difficult now, and you've seen sales teams really shrink a lot. And I'm glad to an extent. I don't want to. I'm not one of the believers that AI is going to be able to replace, SDRs or salespeople or any of that.
Right.
But I do think it's great that we've stopped this kind of irresponsible people scaling in sales orgs, because it was like perfectly acceptable for so long that you have a bunch of salespeople on a team not reach quota. And it's just inefficient. It was not, I mean, there's some, it just culturally, and, there's so many things that were not great about that.
Right.
And this concept of like, well, if people are all, let's just say everyone's getting 100 to 110% of quota, we got to raise the quotas. We got to hire more salespeople. No. How about you have exceptional salespeople who are bringing in great revenue too, and they're happy and productive, and we're not also making our business wildly inefficient, and also putting us in a position to then also lay people off all the time too.
Yeah.
So I actually appreciate this notion of it, but I think it has to be thought of that way as a positive thing, and not as a way of like, we don't value salespeople.
Right.
It's because we value them that we're doing it this way.
Okay. Normally I would wind down here, but what you just said reminded me of a question that I've never asked anyone on this podcast. So bear with me for a second.
Okay.
It used to be that like brands, a brand was like a company-wide thing.
Right.
And now at an executive, starting with the CEO, but then even like to the rest of the C-suite, you see like executive level personal branding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you starting, or do you think we might ever start to see like salespeople as personal brands? Like if you're a salesperson, should you be pursuing a personal brand right now?
Oh yeah, it's already been happening.
Yeah.
SDRs, market, college students are doing it now,
Right.
before they've even graduated, and it's I love it. It's actually it's an SDR. He's now, I believe he's an AE now. Was one of the reasons why I even kind of got the not that he personally encouraged me, but I felt encouraged. You know what? I love that you can have this amazing personal brand as a life, day in the life of an SDR here, which only benefited the company that he worked at.
Yeah.
You don't have to be some C-suite person or whatever, right? And so when I went fractional, when I decided to have my own fractional business, was the time I actually decided to be active on LinkedIn. I never was before. So I'm surrounded by all kinds of personal brands, and it's social selling is just, now it's here, and it's great because it's actually brought a very human element back into into our world.
Especially in like, everyone's inbox is full and everyone's feed is full, and it's hard to stand out. So
yeah,
actually goes a long way.
Yeah, that's the thing is, and the problem is that for a little bit, even not quite, I'd say maybe 4 years ago, you could prospect on LinkedIn like you do with cold email. And then we all decided, actually, I hate that. Don't do it to me in LinkedIn. Don't pitch slap me in the DMs. And I was talking about this with someone the other day as to like, why do we feel like when we get pitch slapped in LinkedIn that it's like you're invading in my personal space? But when I get an email, I'm like, well, whatever, because we've been doing that for over a decade. But what I encourage people building brands and trying to sell in LinkedIn of any sort, you're missing the mark. You're missing the beauty of what LinkedIn can do for you if you're just going there to try to directly pitch people, because nobody can get to know you via cold email, but they can get to know you in the way that you show up on LinkedIn. So that is why I'm a big supporter of social selling.
Yeah. Okay. So this has been fantastic. Thanks very much. As we wind down, who should be reaching out to you these days, and what's the preferred way to do it?
LinkedIn or on my website, either one. You should be reaching out to me if you are a business. You can be a startup. You could be, more of an SMB business. Doesn't need to be in tech necessarily. That, again, you're past the 10 mil ARR stage, and you're, kind of did really well and had hyper growth, maybe from inbound and word of mouth, or a motion that worked for a long time. Maybe you were product led, and you've just kind of reached this plateau, and you just don't know why. I don't get it, but we can't figure it out internally. That's when you'd want to talk to me.
All right. Lindsay, this has been fantastic. It's nice to talk to you again.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So thanks for being here, and thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye.